Los Angeles. Los Angeles is out of control. It has become an absolute blank hole when it comes to crime. Why? Because leftist leaders there refuse to prosecute the criminals. It's disgusting. You see smash and grabs now, like you're watching on your screen, happening nearly daily there. No consequences for these thugs and thieves, this mobs going into places like this. But even worse, that's the least of LA's problems. Murder is up, rape is up, car burglary is up, car theft is up. You name it, every crime is up with no consequences. Watch this. Talking about every day with impunity. They're not even worried about getting captured. Why would they be? If they're captured, they're let back out on the street right away. So who do you think is responsible for all of this? Well, of course, the people who elect the leftist leaders into office, where they know the leftist leaders aren't going to do anything but coddle criminals and treat the victims as if they're the ones that are criminals. But you have this smash and grab in Glendale as well. Another example of what's going on. This is just up the road from downtown Los Angeles, right in L.A. County. Who oversees prosecutions in L.A. County? George Gascon, this radical district attorney, George Soros inspired. He had the audacity to hold a news conference about these smash and grabs. Listen to what the man who loves criminals has to say about the smash and grabs.
I'm personally outraged about what is going on. We are working with law enforcement. We need to have arrests made, right? We're prosecutors. We view them as organized crime. And we will use every tool available under the law when there is an arrest made to make sure that this individual is held accountable. This is unacceptable behavior in a civilized society.
Unacceptable behavior? You're the one that encourages this behavior. Every tool under the law, what are you talking about? You have a revolving door of criminals. Cops don't even want to arrest the criminals anymore in Los Angeles because they know they're going to be out on the street the next day. There is literally no cash bail now anymore, which means if you're arrested, you're let back out on the street. This is the same guy. I remember there was a Black Lives Matter protester that was dragging barricades across train tracks to try to derail a train. He let them go. But the mall, see, this is where you get into the selfishness of liberals. The mall, you go in there, well, now we got a problem, according to Gascon, because that's where his kids hang out, apparently.
My family, like yours, frequents these establishments. We have young kids in the family. They go to the malls, sometimes to hang out. And what has occurred is unacceptable.
How dare these flash mobs get in the way of George Gascon's kids getting an Auntie Anne's pretzel? I mean, come on. What about the kids in Compton? What about the kids in these neighborhoods that are overrun with crime, where drive-by shootings are a daily occurrence, and you're not going after those criminals, but God forbid you go into the mall? Now, it's bad enough. These flash mobs need to be stopped. These businesses are being harmed. But we also need to catch murderers, robbers. Where are the news conferences for all of that? This is finally a reporter in Los Angeles questioning George Gascon on maybe all this is his problem.
What do you say to the person who points a finger at you, saying that there are people in this community who believe they can get away with serious crime in L.A. County and not be held accountable?
Well, I would ask you the question, what would you tell him when you just heard me speaking right now? Because I think you have a responsibility also for addressing it.
I would tell him what the gang members are caught on the phone lines in prison saying, God bless Gascon, I'm going to tattoo his name on my face. That's legitimate, too. The criminals love this guy. Finally, a reporter asked him about the real deal. Now, Gascon is talking like Dirty Harry today, but just hours after that, he lets this guy out of jail. Take a look at this video. It's absolutely disgusting. You want to talk about quality of life issues? This is a serial creep caught on someone's cell phone video going around the Barnes & Noble in Glendale, sniffing women's behinds. It doesn't get any more disgusting than this. Look at this creep in action. And what happens? He gets arrested, by the way. This guy's name is Khalees Crowder, caught on video. He's got dozens of sex-related crimes to his name. He gets arrested for being a peeping Tom in a Glendale home, looking in the window where there are kids. Now he's out on probation, like the day after being arrested. And Gascon's going to talk tough about the flash mob? Here's the victim in all of this, talking about him being released.
I kind of got a flood reaction of some people recognizing him, seeing that he's done the same thing to them in different stores or whatnot.
Days before, 37-year-old Khalees Karen Crowder was accused of peeping into a Glendale home with kids inside. Law enforcement sources say he was arrested and released days later.
My heart dropped. My heart dropped when I was first told it, and then my heart dropped again when I looked it up and saw that he really was released.
Unbelievable. So here's the deal. He has a rap sheet, as I said, that is literally longer than a list of Joe Biden lies. Okay? He's got burglary. He's got sex offenses. He's got peeping Tom stuff. You name it, this is on his list. The problem is in Los Angeles and every other liberal city across the country, these criminals operate with absolute impunity. LA just happens to be the example. I focus it on it because it's happening across the country. There's no punishment for these criminals. Now, here's the amazing thing, and police will tell you this. Police know where the crimes are being committed. Okay, so imagine this. They know where the crimes are being committed. They even know when the crimes are being committed. All right, statistics are an amazing thing, and they really hold true. You can predict the future with them. They even know who is committing the crimes. So cops in L.A., in Chicago, in St. Louis, in every city, Houston, Dallas, know when the crimes are being committed, where the crimes are being committed, and who is committing the crimes. Yet these leftist leaders don't want them going out and arresting these people, proactively policing, throwing them in jail, keeping them there for a long time. Crime would ultimately fall. Take a look at this. This is chaos in La La Land when an old lady gets dragged through a parking lot. When you see things like this, people are on their cell phones. I'm sorry. I know you have to be very, very careful, but I'm telling you, somebody does that in front of me, dragging an old lady, that's the last old lady they drag through a parking lot. I promise you that. But here's the thing. Not in L.A., because I can't carry a firearm in L.A. They won't let me do that there. They won't let me do it in New York either, my hometown. My hometown says, no, you can't protect yourself, Grant. But here in Dallas, guess what I can? And if anybody's dragging an old lady like that through the parking lot, I promise you it's the last old lady they ever dragged through a parking lot. We need more people like that out there. Because right now, the criminals are in control, not the good people of America. And we can thank liberal leadership for all of that. Very, very sad to see, by the way. This is, just to let you know, in Chicago, he doesn't want you, the mayor, speaking of Chicago, doesn't want you to call them a mob. Okay? Can't call them a mob. They call them a gathering. A gathering of hooligans, of thugs. Listen to what he says about this. Cut 12.
There's history in this city. I mean, to refer to children as like baby Al Capones is inappropriate.
Baby Al Capones. You know the sad reality about the Italian mafia back then? They actually had a code. They'd only kill and murder each other. They weren't going around doing this to innocent civilians. But today, that mob of people that operates in so many cities across America, there is no code. They will literally kill you over a candy bar. There is no regard for human life. It is sad. Joining me now is the 33rd Sheriff of Los Angeles County. Alex Villanueva is back with us. He got ousted by another guy who I believe is just sucking up to Gascon, and there's no enforcement there in Los Angeles. What do you make of everything going on in the city you love, Sheriff Villanueva?
Well, you have a perfect storm, Grant. You have Proposition 47 that pretty much decriminalized a lot of things. And who was the author? George Gascon. So George Gascon becomes prosecutor and says, hey, not only did that work out great, let me not even prosecute the lower level of crimes from Prop 47. So felonies become misdemeanors, and he doesn't prosecute misdemeanors either. So cops are left making arrests in futility. And like you said, the catch and release, the zero bail schedule, it's a revolving door. We've arrested people 3 times in one day. So of course cops are frustrated, and that's only part of the puzzle. The other part is there's over 1,000 cops missing from both the sheriff's department and LAPD. So there's not a lot of eyes and ears out there on the street that can respond to intercept these fools when they do these type of crimes.
All right, 1,000 cops missing. Why is that, Sheriff Villanueva? This is rhetorical, but tell me.
Pretty simple. The political establishment in LA has made law enforcement basically evil. The source of all ills in society is law enforcement. So the less cops there are, let's defund them, let's criminalize everything they do, and let's delegitimize them in the eyes of the public. And no one wants to be a cop anymore. So both the sheriffs and LAPD are losing the attrition war big time, and that's impacting public safety as we speak.
Sheriff, how many years were you in law enforcement?
36.
36. Okay. I've covered law enforcement for, I don't know, 25, 30. Okay. So am I right when I tell you, you know when the crimes are committed, where the crimes are committed, and who's committing the crimes for the most part?
Yes. The summer of 2020, we put a stop on all the rioting, the looting. We went after everybody like gangbusters, but we had Jackie Lacey as a DA who prosecuted, and we had a full workforce of people that could go arrest the bad guys. We don't have either today, so here's what you have.
How important is it for the feeling on the street when it comes to these criminals to know that if they get caught, there's consequences?
Oh, it's a numbers game. They know the odds of being apprehended are minimal. The odds of actually facing a severe consequence is even smaller than that. And then if you're a juvenile on top of that, you're walking away pretty much. So, no, they're feeling pretty full right now, pretty full of themselves right now.
All right. If you were still sheriff, and I wish you were sheriff, if you were still sheriff in LA, you got these flash mobs going in, and Nordstrom, these other department stores, and this is like a pipe dream. It'll never happen. But the liberal leaders in that city say, Sheriff, I want you to stop it. What do you do to stop the flash mobs right now?
One, I don't wait for liberal leaders to tell me to do anything. I do my job anyway. And I go straight at the problem. I have a mobile field force up and running. I'll have even 2 or 3 of them, and they're going to fan out all over LA County, no matter what the jurisdictional boundaries are, and they're going to get the bad guys, and they're going to put them in jail. That's what we do, and we do it very well when we have all the resources and we have the right leadership. Right now, we have neither.
All right, I hate to even say that, but that attitude, which is the attitude you need in law enforcement, is what led you to lose the election. They waged war on you because you said, I'm not listening to you liberal leaders. I'm enforcing the law as it's written. And they went all out gangbusters for you.
Yes, the Board of Supervisors used taxpayer dollars to wage a massive campaign of deception on the public, claiming the deputies were gang members. And everyone's running around with these phantom deputy gang members when the real gang members were running amok. And so the public, they were led by the nose by the Board of Supervisors, and now there's consequences right now because of that.
Yeah. Look, they filed a RICO case against President Trump. You want to file a real RICO case? Go to the Board of Supervisors in Los Angeles. Go to Alejandro Mayorkas, who's got a wide open border, who's ignoring the laws of this country. You want to file RICO cases? That's where they ought to go looking. Sheriff Alex Villanueva, it's always a pleasure having you on the program. We miss you in Los Angeles. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Grant.
Absolutely. Look, folks, it is chaos. Something needs to be done, but the people are waking up now. Will they have the stones to vote for people that will be tough on crime? We shall see. I fear in a city like Los Angeles and Chicago and Baltimore, they will not. We'll talk to a political prisoner right here in America. He's locked up. Our friend John Strand, you remember him from this program. I don't believe he did anything wrong. He's now facing 32 months in prison. He turned himself in. He's going to call us from prison. That is moments away. Stick with us. We'll get an update from him. Well, folks, what our country has done to good men and women, literally people who are just addressing their grievances to the government, is nothing short of criminal. I believe we've got judges, jurors, prosecutors who should be in prison, not the J6 political prisoners. Our good friend from this program, John Strand, you may remember him. He was Simone Gold's bodyguard on that January 6th day. Didn't do anything wrong, walked through the Capitol, had police escort him around trying to find an exit, and yet he got 32 months in prison. Well, he had to report a couple weeks ago to prison. He is in Miami. He is also on the phone there now, joining us from that prison. John Strand, welcome to the program, my friend.
Grant, it's always great to be on. Thank you for having me. And
this call is from a federal prison.
There you go.
Well,
it's official.
Yeah. There you go. It is official, John. My thoughts have always been with you. I was worried about you at first, but I talked to you the other day. You sounded good. Tell me what it's been like from the day you checked yourself in a couple weeks ago to now.
Well, I'll be straight with you. A prison is no picnic. It's not comfortable. It's a painful experience, and it's a shock to the system for someone that has always been, of course, a law-abiding, upstanding citizen, and conducted themselves in such a way that this kind of environment is not natural or expected in any way. So if I knew it was coming, I knew that the politicization of January 6th and the Washington D.C. district was such that I was not innocent until proven guilty. I was guilty until proven convicted. I knew that 2 years ago, Grant. So I've been preparing for this for 2 years. But as much as you can prepare for a plunge in the Arctic, you still get your breath knocked out of you when you jump in. And the first couple of weeks in here, were really difficult, both physically and mentally. But God is faithful, and He's just blessed me richly with peace and strength and some really kind, decent people around me. And so I'm doing well, and I'm keeping my spirits high, and really excited for the opportunities God will give me here to continue working and continue advocating for truth and for President Trump, and whatever I can do from here.
You know, John, the human spirit is amazing, and I've watched people go through the hardest things in their life that I would think I'd never be able to go through, and I'm sure they said the same things when they saw other people, and yet you manage to get through this. I'm sure our viewers have a lot of questions like, anyone messing with you? What's the food like? Are you in a little tiny cell? I mean, this for walking around the Capitol. Can you answer a few of those questions briefly?
Yes, sure. And we will have continued updates. I'm still posting live to my Twitter and social feeds and my website. So please keep eyes on that, and I'll continue to give stories and details. But yes, I'm in an actual prison in a very small cell. It's too small, but I have a good cellmate, and he's been wonderful. So it makes it tolerable, and I'm safe. I don't think there's any real significant danger to my physical safety, but it is a prison, so it's very constrictive. I'm locked down, most of the day, except for a few momentary moments of movement, which are never consistent. So there is no schedule, there's no consistency, there doesn't seem to be much logic to the way things work here, and that's part of the difficulty, is managing, just learning to be very flexible, more than I've ever had to be in my life.
John, do the correctional officers know what you were accused of and convicted of? And what is their response to you?
Not necessarily specifically, but I have learned since I got here that, the January 6th story was, of course, well known to everyone, both staff and inmates. And I've learned that my coming was known, and so people have understood why I'm here. And I found this response to be overwhelmingly positive across the board. I've had actually no negative interactions. I've had some people pull me aside and say, "Hey, I think you're a hero, and what you did is heroic, and I'm proud of the efforts that you're making in support of the America First agenda." And so I really see that the people, at least in terms of the circle that I have around me here, are on the right side, and they know that January 6th was a fraud. The thing I hear most from people is, "Man, that was a setup. They had agents involved in instigating violence." And I tell them, "Yeah, I know. I've seen and heard it myself." So
now you're on the inside. You've got to fight for your case. 32 months now. I know you would get out for good behavior, and I have no doubt that that's going to be an issue with you. What do you do to move your case forward, to appeal this? Because all of us listening say this is a travesty of justice. No good man should be locked up the way you are, like an animal, for doing nothing but trying to do your job and ultimately exit the Capitol.
Yeah, Grant, it really is a travesty, and I would urge people to continue putting the heat on their elected representatives, because that's their direct connection to government. I am certainly working on my appeal aggressively. People can, of course, visit johnstrand.com to follow that story and support the efforts legally, and I'm going to fight that legal battle to my dying breath on the appeal of every charge. We're currently appealing the 1512 felony, which they also have indicted President Trump for that same charge as they did for me and many others in J6. It's a totally illegal bastardization of that law. It doesn't even apply. So we need to push back legally, but we also need to push back politically on our elected representatives. So Congress has a lot of power if they should choose to use it, which they rarely do for the right reasons, and we need that to change. So I would flood the phones and emails and even the streets and doorsteps to put Congress on notice that we expect them to stop this weaponization and turn the country around.
Yeah. I want everyone at home to know, John, like President Trump now, is convicted of this obstruction of an official proceeding. Now, that law is actually written to obstruct it. You need to take documents. You need to do something like that. None of that actually ever happened. I believe the law, John, is unconstitutional because the way it's written would not allow you to address your grievances to elected leaders. Of course, you're going to try to sway the opinion of members of Congress. That's what lobbying is all about. In many respects, this law outlaws lobbying, which would be unconstitutional, John.
Yes, absolutely. The Title 18, 1512 felony charge of obstruction of justice or of an official proceeding is completely illegally used here in an absolutely absurd way. And in addition to being unconstitutional, it also really highlights the desperately corrupt and shamelessly immoral methods of the Department of Injustice, this DOJ that with no shame whatsoever and with no opposition, no accountability, is just ramrodding people as they choose to achieve their agenda. And it really is a fascistic operation, and people should be concerned. I mean, no greater proof than myself and people like me in prison as innocent political prisoners in the middle of the United States of America in modern times.
All right, I'm going to ask you a personal question because I've gotten to know you over the last couple of years. I know you to be a good, decent man involved in conservative media, doing things to help Simone Gold and the issues with the vaccine and fighting for freedom and liberty and all of these things. You sound so upbeat. You sound strong. You give me inspiration to fight for you and others like you. Is it like that when you lay your head on the pillow? Are you as strong as you sound right now?
I would say that sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm not. I'm certainly human, and this is definitely, without question, the most painful, difficult, and confusing situation that I've ever encountered. But I know that I am strong. God made me to be strong. He's promised that he will give me the strength that I need to overcome anything, and I really believe that, and I really believe in the promise and future of the country. So I'm battling for my own freedom. Of course, God's called me to that. But even more so, I really feel called to battle for freedom generally and to make an impact on the future of our families and our children's future. And that's what motivates me even through the really hard times here. And God's faithful, so I'm blessed and I'm hopeful.
John, I believe that historians will write about you and the other J6ers as freedom fighters in a positive light in the way that you deserve to be written about. Take that as one piece of positive. But in the end, we got to figure out a way to get you out of there. And I'm not going to ever give up on that, John. And you just hang tough for as long as you can.
I will, sir. I will be here working, praying, and hanging hard, hanging tough. I will. God bless you guys.
Give us your Twitter account. I know we can get cut off at any moment here.
Yeah, last second, but it's at John Strand USA on Twitter and Telegram and Instagram, and johnstrand.com and all the socials listed there. People can also email me there, hello@johnstrand.com, and our team will keep you informed and updated.
All right. God bless you. I appreciate you calling in from prison. Stay safe in there. Stay positive. Stay upbeat. You are an amazing man, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Grant. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to the Real America's Voice family and to America. God bless President Trump, and let's get him back so we can get me out of here.
Amen to that, folks. John, thank you. I'll tell you what, he says, God bless President Trump. This is one of the reasons why we need President Trump in office. If ever there was one, President Trump said, I am your retribution. I believe that he is. That is a man who should not be in prison. There's not a chance in hell that he should be in prison. This is President Trump talking about what he would do when he becomes president.
We pardoned the January 6 rioters who were convicted of federal offenses.
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one because a couple of them probably they got out of control. But, when you look at Antifa, what they've done to Portland, and if you look at Antifa, look at what they've done to Minneapolis and so many other places. Look at what they did to Seattle and BLM. Many people were killed.
I think we can all agree there may have been a few that deserved some punishment, but not the punishment they've been getting right now. Many of them have been in prison for 2 years or more now, and they have done nothing compared to what the president just described there. So when he says many, I actually believe he means most. God bless President Trump. That's why we need him in office. All right, the Biden administration, here's another reason why we need him in office. The Biden administration wants to spend more of your money helping illegal aliens. And I'm not talking about the children being trafficked, okay? I'm talking about something much more nefarious. That's next. Welcome back, everyone. You know, the absolute fact is that we have a disaster unfolding on the United States southern border with Mexico. I want to show you video shot by our correspondent, Anthony Aguero. This video was so disturbing to me of him capturing the moment when men are coming in with what we believed are drugged children, used as pawns to sneak into America, right past the Border Patrol agents with their blessings. Watch this.
No reaction from the child. Look at her limp arm. Her veins are visible right now out here where it's just been sitting, hanging over his shoulder like that. No reaction to that child's face whatsoever. You see her eyes don't react? This other child doesn't react either. Look at that. No reaction.
Those are tremendously bright flashlights he was using. I want every lawmaker, I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, to see that video. That is the reality of what's going on the border. What are they doing to those little children? Well, with me now to discuss all of this is the man who shot that video. He is Real America's Voice border correspondent, Anthony Aguero. Anthony, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Grant. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I understand you have more troubling video to show us. Why don't you tell me what you found now?
So a couple of nights ago, we were actually down in the Del Rio sector, and we stumbled upon a huge property right on the river, right on the edge of the river, basically. And it actually belonged to an ex-senator, Pancho Nevares, out of District 70, or he's a ex-Texas senator, however. It's a huge property, and on the backside, obviously we couldn't come into the river area through the front, so we had to find our way all the way through the backside. We did impossible to get to the areas where we had to get to. And I was actually tipped off by Border Patrol agents to go and look at that area. And we did. We went out there and we witnessed a lot of holes on the wall. But aside from that, the most disturbing thing about this is that we saw what appears to be an area where children are being raped in that particular location. We know that these traffickers hang women's underwear, bras, and panties on
these
trees.
are trophies for these rapists. Little children, clothing, little girls' underwear, little girls' pants, little girls' socks, and little girls' underwear right there in the back. Guys, we are not just telling you, we are actually showing you. This is what Open Borders brings you. These are trophies for these rapists, by the way.
All right, so Anthony, I wanted to get right to it. I thought it was video. I apologize for having them roll that to cut it off. I just thought it was the video we were going to see. But there you have panties, child panties. Why would they lose those along the way? There's no reason for that, Anthony.
The way this was set up, it's not an accident. It's a very desolated area, and these traffickers use these almost as trophies. And we've known about instances in other parts of the border. We've documented this as well on our network. And they hang up women's article of bras, underwear, whatever they can find of the woman, and they hang them up in trees. We call these rape trees. Well, in the area that we were at, they actually hung them up on some of the concertina wire and in some of the brushes that were right along the river. Just a few feet away from there are gaping holes in the wall where people are being brought into the country. And it's just very disturbing to see this, especially knowing that children are being put through this.
It absolutely is. Combine that with the drugged children that we've seen that you've shot. This is groundbreaking information that we're getting. I wish Joe Biden would see it if he had any heart for the kids. The problem with Joe Biden is he likes kids for the reasons that I don't think you should be liking kids for. It's disgusting, quite frankly. You've also found some other things. This is in El Paso. Real quick, if you can, because I've got to get to Border Patrol, ex-Border Patrol agent J.J. Carroll. Can you tell me what you found in El Paso and why this is a concern?
And so in El Paso, we have active ladder crews still working every night down at the border. They rush right through there. And what you're seeing right now in El Paso downtown area is the rush of migrants. We're having a huge surge of migrants coming through. There are actually more migrants, Grant, in Customs and Border Patrol custody right now in El Paso than there was back in May during that surge. So for that reason, you now see porta potties starting to be put out there. You're seeing groups of large people begin to gather outside of the church. And we're going to be here as this continues to develop and bring you more updates here on Real America's Voice.
I'll tell you, Anthony Aguero, you're doing tremendous work, and I appreciate it so much. And I know you're risking your safety to get many of these pictures. God bless you for that. Keep me posted, okay?
We'll see you soon, my friend. Take care.
Absolutely. Good stuff. All right. I want to bring in the author of the book, Invaded, former Border Patrol agent himself, J.J. Carroll. Jay, real quick, your reaction, especially to the video of not only the drugged kids, but then also panties hanging on the fences, children's underwear.
This is nothing new. This has been going on for decades, not just under Biden, but it's just accelerated under Biden. And what Anthony is, to prove Anthony's point, right now we're having between 5,000 and 6,000 unaccompanied children crossing the border each month. So this is accelerated and it's increasing. We're going into Biden's 30th month, 31st month, and now we're almost at 500,000 of these little children. So we're talking about babies, toddlers, all the way to teenagers. It's sick, and our government is doing nothing to stop it.
All right. In fact, they're enabling it. So Joe Biden now is requesting $40 billion more for funding on these agencies to help enable all of these sex traffickers and drug dealers. This is a clip from Axios's article, Paper Cut 3, saying that the administration is asking for this $2.7 billion. It reads, and I will quote here, the administration's ask is part of a $40 billion emergency funding request to Congress. The package includes nearly $2.7 billion for the Department of Homeland Security's various border efforts. You have some idea where these border efforts are going on, JJ. Why don't you tell me about that?
Okay, first, Axios is far left, so they have nothing to, they would not be colluding with any far right people like myself. So that 2.7 billion is actually 4 billion. 3.5 billion of that is going to build regional processing centers that they have changed the name to safe mobility offices, if you can believe that. We have brick and mortar buildings in Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Colombia. The State Department is expecting to expand those 3 places to 100 in Latin America. And then the sickest thing, the DHS has jumped the shark on this. They are now going to, with that funding, build houses, not shelters, homes for illegal aliens that as they wait for their asylum claims on U.S. soil here in America. And they're going to build that while we are in the historic height of homelessness in America. This administration is tone deaf and they don't care.
We are going to build houses for illegals when we have homeless veterans that need help. And granted, they play a role in becoming homeless themselves, but they need help. We don't need to be building houses for illegals here. And you said something in these areas in South America. What are these processing centers called?
Okay, they renamed them. It's Orwellian. They used to be called regional processing centers, where you go, you get safe passage, and you get moved up north to break our laws. Our government is funding this, building this. So now they've changed the name, and they're called Safe Mobility Offices, SMOs. It's insane. You think I'm making this stuff up? It's so 1984, right? But this is what's happening, and they're expected to build 100 of these offices in Latin America. So your audience has to understand these numbers, as Anthony said, is starting to ramp up. All the numbers are spiking. They've been hiding the numbers. They can't hide them anymore. We're averaging over 250,000 illegal aliens arrested and encountered every month. And this has been going on for almost 18 months straight. Those numbers are consistent every month.
Well, you always bring us new information. We're so grateful for that. Between you and Anthony, and then, of course, we got Ben Berkwam and Oscar Ramirez, who are overseas right now trying to paint this picture. There's one hell of a team that no other network is doing this kind of work, and I'm grateful for you. Of course, grateful for your service to America, too. The book is called Invaded. I urge everyone to go out and get J.J. Carroll's book. J.J., always great having you on the program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Grant.
All right, absolutely. All right, folks, so I want to move on now. Coming up after the break, I'm going to give Governor DeSantis, some free advice, because he can't save his presidential campaign, but he could still save his political career. I will tell him how, coming up next. Welcome back, everyone. It is possible for Ron DeSantis to save his political career. It is not possible for him to save his presidential campaign, a campaign that has fallen flat on its face. He's losing ground in the polls. His money is disappearing, along with any support that he once had. To put it bluntly, Governor Ron DeSantis is a flop, a major one, and a total disappointment. Remember, he got heckled in Iowa.
They're hanging in there with us. Thank you so much.
They're cheering for President Trump when he comes on stage. I would be too. And if that's not bad enough, now the snoozing slob Chris Christie is beating DeSantis in New Hampshire in a recent poll. So if Ron DeSantis wants to rescue himself from becoming the next disgraced Mike Pence-style politician, he needs to give it up, exit the race, and do it now. But here is how you do it, Governor DeSantis. You call a news conference and you denounce the radical left. You call out the weaponization of our judicial system against President Trump. And you declare, in light of the never-ending unconstitutional assault on President Trump, with indictment after indictment of our former president, you decided that the only way this stops in the future is for President Trump to win. Trump must take back the White House to prove to future Democrats that waging this bogus prosecutorial war, that this deceitful behavior will not be tolerated by the American people. And for that reason, you, Governor DeSantis, are throwing your full support behind President Trump for the good of the nation. You do that, you will be a hero. Your reputation will be instantly restored. You will go from whiny to winner in one short news conference. If you don't take my advice, you may never win another election again. All right, folks, in other news, I want to turn to Joe Biden. Do you know he's using fake names? Take a look at this headline out of the New York Post. House GOP demands unredacted records of Biden using pseudonym while vice president. Yes, while Joe Biden was vice president, he used the name Robert Peters. And here's what's interesting. The GOP wants these emails, and I don't blame them for wanting them, but he's got other names too, Robin Ware, JRB Ware, and they come from a email address. This Robert Peters address is Robert L. Peters at PCI.gov. Now, I asked a lot of politicos, you ever heard of PCI.gov? I couldn't find the agency. What is this agency? No one knew. It appears, as you get deep into this, thanks to my buddy Kash Patel, he was looking into it a little bit. He hadn't heard of it either. It comes back to, we think, the White House. We need to ask questions on this. Why is there a fake PCI.gov email address? Why is Joe Biden using it? And who set it up for Joe Biden? These are all very, very legitimate questions. These are questions the GOP investigators need to get to the bottom of. But the other question is, what was he sending in these emails? This is the tear out from the letter that James Comer of Oversight sent to the National Archives. It reads, and I quote here, Emails previously released by the archives and retrieved from Hunter's abandoned laptop reveal that Joe Biden used the email address robert.l.peters@pci.gov while he was President Barack Obama's second in command, and that his aide John Flynn CC'd Hunter on 10 emails containing the elder Biden's daily schedule between May 18th, June 5th, and June 15th, 2016. Now, one of those emails sent was Joe Biden's schedule as vice president. On that schedule was a phone call with Petro Poroshenko, the now former Ukrainian president. Hunter Biden was CC'd on that email, and this Robert L. Peters pseudonym for Joe Biden was CC'd on that. Why was Hunter Biden on that email about a phone call with the Ukrainian president? I went back and looked because Hunter Biden's laptop is a treasure trove for much of these things. And I found Joe Biden had been using another email. This was little reported on, but it is true, that they gave another email out, and this one he forwarded to a pseudonym address. It was an email from then Deputy Secretary of State Antony Blinken. This one from Robin Ware was the account. Now, remember, Joe Biden's middle name is Robinette. Robin Ware was a Gmail account giving a rundown on Beau Biden's visit to Ukraine. Now, Beau Biden was then Attorney General in Delaware at the time before he died. So Joe Biden, from this random account, sends this email laying out Beau Biden's talk on anti-corruption initiatives in Ukraine. That's interesting, isn't it? And that email originally originated with then Deputy Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is now our Secretary of State. So was Beau Biden involved in all of this too? We hadn't heard his name much floated around the Biden crime family. All of this is interesting. And Antony Blinken, who's now our Secretary of State, what role did he play in all of this? These are the things that House investigators need to get to the bottom of. All right, folks, all of this leads me to believe that our country is certainly in chaos. We need President Trump to help pull us out. But what do you do in the meantime? I would offer up that you should protect your finances with gold. I'm doing it. You should too. Call the folks over at Birch Gold. You can get in touch with them super easy by simply texting America to the number 989898. Literally hundreds of our Real America's Voice viewers have used Birch Gold as a portfolio protection move to take gold and use it as safety and security. It's stood the test of time when it comes to this kind of thing about protect yourself, a hedge for inflation, stock markets going down, the chaos. It is physical commodity. Put it in your gun safe, hide it, bury it in your backyard, but start collecting it, start hoarding it. You will not regret it. Again, text America to the number 989898. Do it today. My friends at Birch Gold can help you. All right, folks, coming up, Joe Biden says there isn't one objective he hasn't failed to accomplish. Really? That's next.
are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. You might have thought it, but now a new poll has confirmed it. Kamala Harris is the worst vice president ever, and that's not good for President Biden's re-election plans. A Rasmussen poll said that she is hurting his chances of winning again. We have the numbers. Republicans in Congress are sniffing around to see if Democrats are illegally using foreign money and nonprofit groups to win elections. The focus is on battleground states that helped Biden beat Trump. Several northern states are seeing more and more Latin American illegal border crossers being shipped in the Biden administration as it tries to hide the impact of the crisis. Some are being sent over 2,300 miles north to Maine. And the Bush family is thinking about buying back the Budweiser brand to fix its image. Let's drink to that. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
All right, let's start it right out of the box with Joe Biden declaring this.
Name a single objective we've ever set out to accomplish that we've failed on. Name me one in all of our history. Not one.
See, every conservative is going to say, oh, how could he say that? No, he's right. He has succeeded on every objective. He's opened up the border. He's gone totally weak on crime. He's killed the economy to create chaos in America. He is completely fulfilling his objective of destroying this country. That's what he and Barack Obama and George Soros have set out to do. So I won't waste time with that. You know what he is? He's Creepy Joe. We know that. Listen to this little call to the children.
I want to say one thing to your children. I know some really great ice cream places around here. And Daddy owes you. Okay? So talk to me afterwards.
He's disgusting. Talk to me afterwards so I can come sniff your hair. Talk to me afterwards. Don't tell your parents what I whispered in your ear. You remember that one from a while back? He may just be, no, not may just be. This man is the creepiest, most disgusting sitting president in American history. Absolutely. Sitting or not sitting. He's gross. And then he ends it with this little thing about being Irish and what?
I'm going to be a good boy. I'm going to keep the Irish in me down a little bit.
What does that mean, keep the Irish in you down? This guy's nothing but bad news. And he's now lost it in his head. Complete dementia patient. Keep the Irish in you down, you disgusting, disgusting fool. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back here tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to Body Language segment tomorrow. It's one of my favorites. I hope you tune in with us tomorrow. I'm Grant Stinchfield. Don't forget the website, GrantStinchfield.com, GrantStinchfield.com. Go subscribe to the podcast, folks. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks to all of you.
From Studio 6B on a Thursday night. Glad you're in. Real America's Voice, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Lots to do, lots to talk about. Slick Rick's doing sports. Rick Delgado's going to do the news. Glad you're a part of the show. To all our friends in the Getter chat, welcome on in. Following us on Real AM Voice. Make sure you follow LFS6B as well. But streaming each and every night, 8 to 10, right here on Real America's Voice Getter Chat. Welcome to everybody in there. Let's do